You may load your weapons and fire when ready.
Well, that was Guy Swan. He's the range master here at the Lansing Muzzleloading Gun Club. We are at the semi-annual shoot here, which they hold every September. I'm in the company of probably 200 or 300 shooters, 400 or 500 people, including their families. They're all shooting muzzleloading rifles, many different types. We're going to find out about the muzzleloading rifles and shotguns, the different events they have, their primitive encampments. It's a lot of fun. You're not going to want to miss it, so stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's Thursday night and time for Michigan Outdoors.
From the rugged shore and woodlands of the north, its history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fisheries. To the farmlands of the southern counties, we'll look around again at all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan.
Right down there on the range, we see a kid guy, a youngster who's holding a big, long muzzleloader out there. How old do you suppose he is?
Oh, probably about 12. There's kids who start out. We have a match for kids who can barely hold the gun up.
Oh, you see them all here. There's women, kids, a lot of men shooting muzzleloaders of all types. Now, a lot of them are the primitive muzzleloaders, and the primitive shooters like you and Evelyn who dress in the period costume, stay in your tents and teepees. But the guns they shoot, there's some guns here that don't look primitive to me, although they're muzzleloaders.
They're bench guns. They're a heavier, more modern competition type of firearm.
Of course, the one thing all of these guns have in common
is that you load them from the front and shoot them with either flint or a percussion cap.
Okay, so you put the powder down in there first, patches, and then the ball. All of these shooting right here are rifles. We're going to be looking at shotguns in a few minutes, some trap shooting. Now, some of the shooters are shooting with a rest, a wooden rest.
Those are the cross-stick competitions. They use a buffalo on the 50-yard, and they have 5 shots, no practice. And the idea is to get 3 shots in one target and 2 shots in the other target and be as accurate as possible. Mm-hmm. So that's why they use the cross-stick.
I see. And then the other offhand shooters. Well, it's an interesting sport and one that has drawn an awful lot of people. I think, Guy, you and Evelyn, are you a shooter too, Evelyn?
Once in a while.
Once in a while, because I know you're with Guy all the time and dressed in the period costume. That must be the attraction for the families. Mm-hmm. The teepees and the dress and the tire.
You live it.
You live
for the
it.
weekend.
For the weekend, at least. In fact, that's where Ed Groves is right now. He's over at the primitive encampment.
Well, those are the tin teepees. We're just east of there where the real teepees are. We're in the primitive camping area. There's no electricity here. There's no running water. No cars are allowed. I'm with Tom Johnson, of course, in the primitive muzzleloading garb here. We're going to take a look at what a muzzleloading village looks like. Right in front of us, a lean-to. Tell me about this.
And this is the style of the encampment that they had back in early 1800s. This is a smaller lean-to. As you see, it has the flap up. Mm-hmm. This one here in the back, you see, it has the flap down. That is to protect the people from rain. If the sun beats in, they pull it down. They're in there in the shade.
What do you do in the winter?
In the winter, a lot of times, you have a fire, you'll dig a trench from the fire, line it with rocks. The heat from the fire will travel through the rocks into your lodge.
Is that right?
That's right.
Boy, I don't know. It sounds pretty risky to me. I don't know if I want to try that. Here we've got the cooking area. Tell me, what kind of foods do you cook in a village like this?
Wild game mostly. We cook venison, raccoon, wild poultry.
A lot of soups, I'd imagine.
Stews. A lot of stews.
I know that I've seen them before make breads and the
breads, fried bread. That's right.
And this is all in the 1800
early 1800s. Yes.
Now let's walk over here. I got to find out what this guy's doing here. He's putting in some steaks. What are you doing? Tell me.
We're securing our medicine pole.
Medicine pole?
Our medicine pole is...
Are you the witch doctor, or what?
No,
are you the medicine man, or?
That's what the Indians hung their good luck charms on. And also that's where they tied their smoke flaps for their teepee.
Now, what kind of good luck charms are you going to hang here?
Well, we have a deer skull, and then some Indian charms, and...
For what kind of good luck are you looking for?
Good luck in shooting today.
Oh, is that right?
Well, Ed, if luck were ever needed, it's when you hit the primitive field course with a muzzleloader. Now, this course is out on about 20 acres of land here at the Lansing Muzzleloading Gun Club. Each year, they set the course up differently. The shooters go through a series of targets. How many, Doug?
About 13 targets.
13 targets, each of them at a different distance, and you don't know what the distance is.
That's correct.
How far would you say this owl is down there? You can see the owl.
He looks to be about, maybe 60 yards or so.
Maybe 60 yards. It makes a big difference in how far it is out there. You did some ballistics test yourself.
Yes, I did. I did it with a computer. And
What did you find out?
well, I found out that everything follows a law of gravity, and it drops 16 feet in 1 second after the gun goes off. And you have to learn how fast the bullet is traveling and everything else.
Okay, well, you're shooting a rifle at the owl. The owl is a suspended piece of metal there. We should see it wiggle and hear a ding. Doug Langworthy, go ahead and take your shot. And he'll get more points if he shoots it on his first shot and hits it. But he has 3 shots altogether. Here it goes. That was a hit?
That's a hit.
Well, I heard the ding, but I didn't see it move much. That's because you're using a small caliber. You can see here at the end of the barrel here of this gun. This is how big?
That's a 30 caliber.
30 caliber, small plinking squirrel gun.
Very good squirrel gun, as a matter of fact.
You hunt with your muzzleloader?
Oh, yes. Last year I took this one squirrel hunting with me, and I got 6 squirrels with it.
Cook up some pretty good recipes with those.
Oh, definitely.
Taste better when you get them with a muzzleloader, I bet.
Especially with a muzzleloader, and when you get them yourself, it's 100% better.
You bet. Well, right now, this is the primitive course where a number of shooters go through here and have quite a contest, but now Ed is over on what's an even more primitive type of contest.
We'll talk about primitive, a tomahawk. A piece of wood. I'm going to give it a... You haven't given me any lessons yet, G-Nice,
No,
right?
no.
Let me just give it a throw here, okay?
Okay.
All right. Hey, I'm kind of off center. How is everything else?
Don't count.
Well, now give me a lesson here. What do I need to do?
Okay, I stand like this with the tomahawk right alongside my leg.
All right.
And I take 1 step.
Ooh.
Okay, I was too close. It hit the handle first, see?
All right. But 1 step.
Okay.
Now, what do I want this thing to spin a bunch of times to
Nope,
get there?
one spin.
1 time. All right.
And lay it right alongside your leg and,
All right.
and just throw it like a hatchet. Don't try to kill it, just stick it. Now see, it was just right, only it was off the log a little bit.
Can I try that again?
Sure.
I'm gonna get right back here and try that one more time. Okay, now you stand, tomahawk down, take 1 step. Hey,
There you are.
I guess that's the way it's done.
Well, Ed, one of my favorite sports is shooting shotgun, trap, or skeet. And believe it or not, they have muzzle loading, trap shooting with muzzle loading shotguns. Now, they do have a, consistent with this whole sport, a primitive trap house here. Gary West. Gary, go ahead and cock that lever, and we'll see what happens here to the trap. He's pulling it manually. I'll step back here, and when he pushes the lever the other way, the trap activates. Go ahead, pull it. Okay, that's what happens. That's how this primitive trap works. All manually, by hand. Go ahead, cock it again, Gary. Okay, now, we have Mark McDonald in here who's setting the targets. You can go ahead and set it on there, Mark. That's how he does it, and we'll step back and take a shot. And the fellow who's going to give me my instruction here on shotgunning with a muzzleloader trap shooting is Gary McDonald. Gary, I want to congratulate you on a fine club.
Thank you.
He's the president of the Lansing Muzzleloading Gun Club. Well, Gary, we have a problem here right off the bat in that the shotgun shell is not together in a muzzleloader.
It's all in pieces.
All in pieces. Well, show me how you put it together, starting with the black powder, which, of course, is dangerous, like many shooting sports are, but it's safe because you fellas all know how to handle it.
So we handle it safely. All right, I'm going to use a charge of 90 grains.
Mm-hmm. This will be equivalent to what? A 12 gauge?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Drop that down the muzzle.
Okay.
Put the lid on there. Now the powder is loaded.
Right.
Next you have a wad.
We'll take a compression wad and we soak it in a little soapy water.
For what reason?
It helps clean the barrel and helps make a better seal. And this is a short start that we'll use to push
Get
that
the
down a
wad
little
started.
bit. Long ramrod.
Boy, you can see how long it takes to shoot around a trap already, just the reloading.
Okay, we've got our wad in. Now we'll put in about 1 1/8 ounces of shot. This is number 7.5.
7.5, and I'll, this is just a regular shot that you'd load in a regular 12,
Right.
20 gauge shotgun. Now we have the shot.
Now we have to put in an over-the-shot wad. That keeps the shot from rolling back out the barrel. Use our short start on that.
And put the rod all the way down.
And it's loaded.
And it's loaded, but not ready to fire yet because this is a flintlock, so we have to put a primer.
Right, you have to prime.
Prime in there. Well, let's go up to the range here, and I'll take a shot. Okay, stepping up here to position number 1. Gary, after all we've done, we're still not ready to shoot yet. Here, you can come around here so we can see what has to be done. This is the flint that strikes the steel that makes the spark, but we have to prime it.
Okay, this is a priming mechanism. We have this filled with 4F powders, very fine, much finer than the 2F we loaded the gun. All right, and we're going to pour a small amount, actually, into the pan.
This is quite a process.
And then what we usually do is we tap it, and kind of spread it around. And
pull this down.
Pull the frizzen back.
Frizzen back. And cock it.
And
I'm ready to go. Okay, go ahead, Gary. Pull back the trap. It's loaded. The target's in there. When I say pull, the target's going to fly out, and this is my first time shotgunning with a... Anything that I should expect, Gary?
No.
Just follow through as normal. Okay. Pull! That's very different. There's a bit of a delay between the time you pull the trigger and it fires. I can see how this could be fun, though.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, well, this might be a novelty to a lot of you serious trap shooters out there, but believe it or not, even amongst this, we do have novelty shoots with the muzzleloaders, and Ed Groves is over at the novelty shoots right now.
Well, the muzzleloaders novelty shoots are some of those original and some of the most difficult novelty shoots that I've seen. Let's take a look at what they've got here. We've got some candles. Here's the flame, the object with a ball to break that right off. Down here, matches, and if you can just barely tick the top of the match, you'll light it. Of course, you win a prize then. With these caps here, if you tap the tack that's in that plastic cap, right like that, it falls right off, and you can see that happen. The cards, look at that. The idea here to hit the very edge of that and split it right in the middle. Over here, there's some strings, and on the ends of those strings are some prizes that muzzleloaders can win if they can split the string. And over at Fred, look at that. He's with an axe head and a couple of clay targets.
Well, this is the most difficult one, Ed. I think this is called split the ball. Of course, you take a 50 caliber ball that comes out of the muzzleloader. What you try to do is hit the axe head right in the middle. Piece goes off to each side and breaks the clay pigeons. And of course, you can see it's been done right here. There is a ball that has been split. So the guy won a prize. I tell you, quite a deal out here at the Lansing Muzzleloading Gun Club. There's a lot of things we didn't cover about muzzleloading. We will on future shows. An exciting, interesting, fun sport. Right now, let's go to see some big fish on our Michigan Outdoors Trophy Report. Here's a pike that I'd like to catch. It weighs 18 pounds, was 40 inches long, and of course, comes from the Upper Peninsula, Squaw Lake to be exact. Steve Santos from Caucallin caught it on a Rapala with 6-pound test line. No leader. He was fishing for smallmouth bass. Thought he had a snag when it hit until it started moving. At 18 pounds, it's 2 pounds short of Master Angler minimum, but a trophy nonetheless. And another Upper Peninsula fish, a brown trout caught by Jack Soderman from Gladstone. He was fishing for jack salmon in the spring in Lake Superior's Upper Harbor near Marquette. It hit a yellow jig and took 27 minutes to land on 8-pound test. That's 12 pounds, 7 ounces, a little over a pound short of Master Angler minimum. But what a battle. Another fish caught accidentally. Mike and Bob Cook caught this 8-pound, 10-ounce channel catfish while jigging for pike with a 5-inch shiner in Williams Lake near Jackson. The Master Angler minimum for channel cats is 6 pounds. Current state record is 47.5 pounds. Now, Mike Cook won't get a Master Angler patch for this fish because he didn't weigh it on certified scales and register it with the DNR. So we'll call it an 8-pounder that would have qualified. Another fish that would have qualified but wasn't registered, one of these, well, both are bass, both weigh over 5 pounds, but only one would make Master Angler, and can you see why? Well, Master Angler minimum for smallmouth bass is 5 pounds, but for largemouth, the minimum is 6. Which one's the largemouth? The one on the left with a dark stripe running down the side. That was caught at 5:30 in the morning, opening day this past May on a gold rapala in Kent Lake near Brighton. Weighing 5.5 pounds, it's a ½ pound short. But the smallmouth bass on the right, taken at 6 a.m. the same morning on the same lure, weighs 5 3/4 pounds, and it's 22 inches long. But no master angler status for this one either. The weight's unofficial, and it wasn't registered with the DNR. Starting September 29th on Michigan Outdoors, all trophy report fish will have to be master angler qualifiers with the weights verified, but we'll give recognition to these as close calls in our Michigan Outdoors trophy report.
Fred, those were some big fish, but we've got some big fish headlines right here in the outdoor headlines this week. Dave Dempsey from the governor's office, we told the people that were watching last week that you'd be on to tell us the latest on Indian fishing. You were in Washington last week. What happened?
That's right. Well, Bob, as you know, this issue's taken on a new urgency in the governor's office. In the last few weeks, we've become very sensitive to the fact that there are rising tensions on our lakes because of the Indian fishing issue.
Ludington, the
That's
UP,
right.
those areas, yeah.
We're well aware of that problem. As a result, the governor has directed members of his staff, principally through Conrad Mallett, who's the legal advisor, to have an open-door policy, to meet with the various interest groups involved, and to recommend to the governor in the next 30 days a settlement strategy to take into account the competing interests. And I don't need to tell you, Bob, what those interests are. Basically, they're $1 billion sports fishery that's at stake, and also a consistent record of treaty rights that have been affirmed by the courts. Both those interests have to be considered in any settlement. I think the governor is aware that there are concerns among the sportsmen's community that...
So is he opening his door to all sportsmen from any club or whatever to contact his office and make a few points? Or?
That's right. Conrad Mallett, the legal advisor, is meeting with the leaders of some of the sportsmen's groups, but certainly I have an open door personally to hear from any of those groups or individuals that would like to offer advice on the solution.
Are negotiations going on right now, Dave?
Negotiations, no, but the meetings are. The governor has set a deadline of 30 days for that recommendation that I talked about. Last week, members of the staff traveled to Washington to meet with members of our congressional delegation to inform them of what's going on and to consider asking for their help in drawing the Department of Interior into the settlement as an active party. In the past, there's been some feeling that they haven't been playing the role they could play in settling this very old issue.
Well, will you come back next week and kind of bring us up to date on what's going on with the Department of Interior and the whole issue?
We'll give you regular updates.
Okay, thank you very much,
Sure.
Dave.
Let me slip into here just a moment.
Sure.
You know, we could go on for an hour, and this is a hot issue with sportsmen, but at our club council meeting Monday night, all of the questions of sportsmen's groups will be answered. Right, Jim?
We hope
Dennis,
so.
Dennis
That's right.
Adams will be there. He's the fellow that puts the budget together for the DNR and takes it apart. He knows where every penny is being spent. Speaking of misinformation, did you hear that Sheepshead, the freshwater drumfish, is poor quality eating? Well, we did a recipe a year ago, and I want to share that with you right now. These little fish right here, freshwater drum, have a particularly rough time. They're abundant in Lake St. Clair, but most anglers won't even consider keeping them in the boat. They throw them out. They think they're trash fish, bad eating. Well, I learned a recipe last weekend where you take the fillets and you can cook them up and serve them in a way that if they're with cocktail sauce or butter, wow, you won't believe it. But I had to con these charter boat captains into trying it. Watch what happened. Now it's time for, we're going to do two things right now. We're going to do a start in on a recipe, which is just outstanding, and we're going to introduce the fellas that we're going to be fishing with next week on Michigan Outdoors, Captain Roy Aldis. Roy, we're looking forward to it. What are we going to catch, walleye, muskie?
We're going to go for walleye, and we're going to go for muskie, too.
Okay, well, we have Nick here, and Dave, and Dan. I have a treat for you guys. Why don't you try this, you know, this little special cocktail we have here. There's melted butter, some cocktail sauce. Give it a try. Dip it in, you know, whichever one you want. I want to know what you think of this. You're trying it in the melted butter. Roy is. How's it taste?
Delicious.
It is delicious? Dan?
Excellent.
It is? What did you dip it in? Oh, you
Butter.
put lemon on it and dipped it in the butter. Okay, now I want to get around here to Captain Dave. We got 2 good reviews on this recipe so far. Dave?
Great. I put it in the sauce. It's great.
What does it taste like?
I think it's pickerel.
You think it's pickerel? What do you think it is, Dan?
It's hard to say.
Okay, well, let's move around here. Nick, you've dug into it. What have you tried it in, the butter or the cocktail sauce?
I did a little bit of both, Fred. It's excellent.
Now hold it. What did you say, Dan?
Tastes a little bit like lobster.
It's like lobster. No kidding.
A little like shrimp.
A little like shrimp. What about you, Roy?
I think it's fish.
You think it's fish? I'm going to tell you guys what it is, okay? Get back on a wide shot. Get back on a wide shot. What did you say, Dan?
Probably sheephead.
It's sheepshead. That's what it is.
I'll tell you one thing, Fred. The heck if I'll be throwing my sheephead away.
That's why I was saving them.
Right.
That's why I always save them out on the trips.
First time I've ever ate it.
Very
Delicious. First time I've ever ate sheephead in my life. I'll never throw them back now.
Okay, you guys know how I cooked it?
No, I'd like to know.
You would?
Really?
I couldn't believe it when you kept the sheephead on the boat.
Well, let's get around here. This is interesting. Sheepshead really takes a lot of bum rap.
I couldn't believe it when you kept the sheephead. I wondered why you wanted to keep them. I thought you were just, you know.
And you know, I've known all day long that I'm going to feed this to you guys, and you're going to love it. You're going to think it's lobster or shrimp. The recipe, I'm going to tell you how to do it in just a moment. But right now, let's go to Ed Groves and find out what's coming up on our outdoor calendar. We have a big event occurring right here on Michigan Outdoors, the revealing of the recipe for sheepshead, a fish that most anglers seem to consider trash. Well, I got this recipe from Don Oakes, a charter captain in Lake St. Clair. He said this is what you do. You take 2 quarts of boiling water, or 3 quarts of boiling water, excuse me, and 1 cup of salt. Wait till it gets rolling to a boil. Put your fillets in a basket, no more than 3 or 4 minutes. That's all you do, 3 or 4 minutes. What comes out of here is an awful lot like monkfish. Honestly, monkfish, you know, they cost $3.50 or so a pound, and they call poor man's lobster. Well, you could call sheepshead poor man's shrimp. It has the same texture as monkfish. Look what happens when you use another fish. This is some crappie that I just cooked up a few minutes ago, and it falls apart. Tasty, but it falls apart. So sheepshead is unique, destined to become a delicacy. So serve it just like you would lobster with butter or shrimp with cocktail sauce. And even the Canadian charter captains will tell you that this dish is a delicacy, surprisingly good. In fact, this little dish right here changed their whole attitude towards sheepshead. Go ahead, say you something.
It's excellent. Now, I'll tell you one thing, Fred. I'm a little mad at you right now.
You're a little mad at me. How come?
I threw about 5 or 6 sheephead away. Walleye fishing today. This is excellent.
Yeah, you thought it was pickerel.
At least 8 or 10 away.
Yeah?
I threw 500 away all year.
It does taste like shrimp.
What?
It tastes just like shrimp.
I think it tastes just like lobster dipped in butter.
I know, you dip it in butter, tastes like lobster.
The only thing difference, Fred, for a shrimp cocktail, you probably pay the average between $5 and $7 for. And this, it's free.
That's right.
I didn't want to say that. When I seen him keeping sheephead, I said, oh yeah, Fred's keeping sheephead.
Fishing, basically, in a nutshell, is fantastic all over the state. Well, it's not fantastic every place, but it's excellent in most places. Get out and try it. You'll enjoy it. We'll see you next week right here on Michigan Outdoors.
You got to pull the half of the right barrel back to full cock.
The right barrel back to full cock.
Okay.
Is that the front trigger?
Front trigger.
Oh, here it goes. Now I'm going to see if I can't hit one with a percussion. Now, percussion should work a little faster. I shouldn't have a delay.
Right. Cover the bird.
Okay. Oh! Oh! That was a misfire. Got it cocked again. That happens now and then, even in your tournament trap shooting. Ready again?
Yeah.
Okay. Pull. Somebody else has to tell you whether you hit because of all the smoke. Well, I'll try this again. Use the rear trigger left, but now I got to hit it one of these times. You ready? Pull. All right. I got it. Okay. I'm ready for the tournaments now.